We are live. We are live. Hey, Mark Gasser, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing tremendous, Tom. I'm doing tremendous. And,
Good.
as usual, I know everybody gets tired of me saying it. Did a little baseball on Saturday, got that out of the way. And, now I'm kind of focusing on a trip here coming up here soon for me and the family. So we're going to go elsewhere and get away for a little bit.
Oh, good. You deserve it, my friend. So where are you going?
We're going to Greece. We're going to Sikia. It's called the Horio. It's the country. Really neat place to go to. There is actual. It's kind of, I'll call it a bed B&B now because my father-in-law lived in that area. So we're going back there. It's been 25 years. And what the neat thing about it, I won't bore everybody, but the people that were kids now are adults, and those adults now have their own kids. They've got teenagers. So this is going to be a real exciting trip to see them because they were little when I saw them. So, and we've all changed a little bit, some of us get older or something like that. I don't know how that works out, but you're as young as you feel, man. And I'm really looking forward to it. This time my son gets to go with us. Actually, both of them do. So this will be
That'll
cool.
Be cool. That'll
Yeah.
be cool. Well, Mark, we're going to do our little intros and we'll come back and we'll introduce our guest.
Oh, yeah, I
You
can't
ready?
wait. This will be fantastic.
It's not playing, my friend. Don't know what's going on here today.
This is the beauty as Tom's going to pull up our sponsors here of going live because you never know what's going to happen, and sometimes you just got to adapt, improvise, overcome, or, make it work. It's, hey, no big deal. I see it clicking, but it won't kick in, will
It's
it?
not playing. So what I'll do, Mark, is I will just share with everybody who our two sponsors are. ASEA, redox signaling molecules, and Be Connected. This is the platform we're on here today.
Tremendous.
It's going to be a very significant player in the social media, business media arena. You and I are both active players in promoting this platform. So
Right.
If you're looking for an all-in-one platform, cutting your costs by 90% in your social media arena, I'd encourage you to check out the Be Connected, either through Mark or myself. And then, of course, on the health side, our greatest asset we have is our health and ASEA. There's redox signaling molecules. Mark, you want to bring a bottle down?
There you go.
This is a scientific breakthrough, 6 Nobel Prizes behind it. It's cellular health. It's how our cells communicate. As we age, we make less of it. So they did something that science said couldn't be done. They did it. And it's been a miracle product for myself and my health with my knees and that type of thing. So that's our corporate sponsors.
Walking, talking advertisement here. Here's the gel and here's the liquid, man.
Right.
So take your poison. Actually, I use these and it helps me tremendously when I umpire. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
If I couldn't do what I'm doing it, particularly, I just turned 67 too, by the way. You asked me what's new. That happened June 2nd. So I don't know how you're supposed to act at 67, but somebody fill in the blank that's been there. And maybe, Tom, you're the elder statesman. So how should I conduct myself now?
Just goofy. That's okay.
Right.
You can get away with it. The older you get goofier and more blunt, more direct as you get age.
All right. That's a beautiful thing. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm the senior citizen here at 73. So,
man,
I'm really excited.
Like you at 73 too, Tom. That's
Mark,
great.
why don't you go ahead and share with the audience what Elevate Your Profits is, and we'll introduce our guest today. I'm really excited to introduce Nick here.
Absolutely. Elevate Your Profits is totally about bringing on people that are thinking about starting a business or they're entrepreneurial. You could work for a company, solopreneur, and we strongly advocate that as well. It's designed for people that have a cause, a purpose that they want to share. It could be in the medical field. It could well as be in technology. And I'll say it again, we've had people on here and this gentleman here tonight, Mr. Nick, they're authored, they've written books, they have an expertise, they share it with us, we learn. The whole idea about Elevate Your Profits when we put this together is to really to learn from one another and to share an idea, a concept that maybe if you're thinking about starting your own business, or you're looking at other ways for revenue streams, how to capture that, what's your passion, if there's something out there that drives you. And I'm really looking forward to tonight. This one, I love the topic about people who you hang out with. I heard this numerous times from my father growing up. You are who you hang around with. And if you hang around good people, good things have a tendency to rub off. I wouldn't even be doing half this stuff I'm doing right now if I didn't hang around good people. That's all I'm going to say. But why don't you bring on our guest?
Yeah, great. That's one of the things that I want to give kudos to Ken Walls and the Grow Live Academy.
Absolutely.
For this opportunity, because if it wasn't for the Grow Live Academy, we would never had an opportunity to meet Nick and bring his wisdom and his experience to the table tonight. So we always want to give recognition to those that have inspired us and encouraged us and challenged us to do this live streaming. We've been doing this program now, how long, Mark? 2.5 years?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We've interviewed some very significant people, including Ken Walls and Benjamin Gay III, and if anybody doesn't know who he is, and a wide range of authors and business influencers. So we're blessed to have those type of connections. Has been very, very blessing for myself and my businesses as well. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Nick Ogilvie. Nick is part of our Grow Live Academy. And what I'd like to start out today with is, what are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful for being able to wake up and to enjoy the day, right? I mean, that's the majority of the battle, is waking up and enjoying the day. I'm grateful, I'm grateful for a lot of things. I really am. I mean, grateful to have a loving family, grateful to have a loving wife. I just had my first grandkid.
Oh, that's awesome.
And,
there you go.
Yeah, so I'm really thankful and grateful for that. I mean, it's awesome.
Great. Yeah, so that's one of my first live stream program is called G-Force, and I focus on gratitude as a personal development coach. It really changes our perspective. So this, as I tell people, they say, how are you doing today? And my response is, this is the best day of my life. And it is. This moment is the very best. This moment is the best moment of my life. And if you approach life that way, no matter what circumstances we have going on around us, it changes our perspective, puts us in a place of positiveness versus negative. So that's sort of my philosophy of life, is focusing on gratitude. What am I grateful for today, this very moment? Mark, what are you grateful for?
I've got to piggyback on what Nick said, but for me personally, it's my health. I am so grateful I have my health, because I know people that don't. I just lost a dear friend a couple months ago, my age. So, these things start happening, life kind of gets in the way. And once you get to that 60, thing and moving forward, but it's just, I'm really grateful that I can still umpire and do what I do and hang out with younger people half my age I work with alongside of. That's kind of cool. And it's a challenge to keep up with them, but somehow I manage to do it. And then when they find out how old I am, they ask me, what are you doing out here, man? But I wouldn't have it any other way. I just am of the theory that I'd rather wear out than rust out. I'm just going to keep going forward and going for it, and until somebody says, now you got to stop, but that'll be my body telling me, yeah, we can't do anymore. We're tired, we're shot, we're done. But, I think when you say grateful, the fact that I can get up and, I kid about this, make phone calls or whatever it is I do. Some people wouldn't do it, but, I'm grateful for all that. Even I'm grateful for those of you, and I don't know if they're listening, that have said no to me today. I'm grateful for you, because I learned from you, and those that even slam the phone. They don't slam it. They just say, hey, not interested. See you later. Bye. I don't take it personal anymore. You can't. It's just not worth it.
Well, let's introduce our guest, Nick Ogilvie. What I like to do is I'm all about the story, your why in life. And today your topic that we're going to be talking about is the people you hang with. And I like to have your perspective, what that it means to you and what it's done for you and your business and your career, those type of things. So why don't you share with everybody a little bit about where you live, where you're born, your a synopsis of where you started and where you are today in your business career.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Clovis, New Mexico, which is on the eastern side of New Mexico. Went to West Texas A&M University. Did not graduate. I ended up working for getting a job at the railroad for BNSF Railroad. Was a conductor for a while, got laid off, so I had to figure out something to do to make money. And in the back of a Smart Money magazine, when we used to get magazines, there was a deal, had all the franchises. And so I thought, man, that's cool. I want to do artificial turf. And it said it was the next big thing in the next 30 years. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I tried to get a franchise. No one would ever get back with me, which was crazy. And so then I called the manufacturer where people were getting turf from. And they said, well, we're not going to sell you turf until you know how to install turf, which makes sense. I mean, they don't want their product getting out into the wrong hands. So I paid a guy all the way out in California to teach me how to do turf, and I paid him to work for a couple of weeks. So then I came back to Clovis, but this time I'd gotten recalled back to work. So I did the turf and railroad for 6 years, and just kept on and on and on. And then I had a big job that I put a bid in for in Florida. And so I was going on the railroad. I was going down the rails, and I get a phone call, and it was the guy that I got that told me I won the bid.
Oh, wow. So
when I got to the depot, I filled out the computer, our paperwork, which is on a computer, to tie up. It's called tying up. We tied up. And then I went into the train master's office and said I need to take a 2-week vacation starting this day. And so I was going to go work on my vacation, go make some money. So that's what I did. And when I got there to do this work and seeing all the money that was around, couldn't believe people were just spending money right and left. And I was like, okay, this is where I got to be. And I never went back to the railroad.
Oh, wow.
It was actually pretty crazy. So I never went back to the railroad. And then in Florida, you have I-4, 95, and 75. And I call it the donut. And so I had no clue where I was going to live in Florida. Didn't know anything about Florida. So I went up the East Coast. I found out it's kind of a little fast-paced. I don't like that. I found a spot on the West Coast in Indian Rocks Beach, Clearwater area. And it was really slower pace and a great place to live. And so that's where I called home until 3 years ago. My grandmother was sick, so I moved to Frisco. And then from Frisco, I got a place here in Salina. And I've been here ever since. I still have operate out of Tampa, but here's the cool thing. So it kind of comes full circle. Now I have turf that's made for me, and it's shipped by the railroad. And I looked in the back of the franchise magazine to see what kind of franchise. And now I just sold my first franchise in Florida, in Tampa. So it's pretty crazy how it all just comes full circle.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. So that's my story.
Well, that's one of those things that you didn't be dreaming about doing turf. I grew up playing football on AstroTurf, the original stuff. The college I went to in junior college, we had an AstroTurf. We hated it. It was like playing on the concrete road out here.
Sure.
It was that bad. Today, I'm sure those turfs are a whole lot better, because we, even in our community here, they just opened up a college team league, and they built a stadium for them with all Astro, or what do you call it, turf,
Yeah, artificial turf.
No
Yeah.
dirt. There's no dirt on this field. Even where the base paths are is a brown
Yep.
product. When they slide, the little granules come out of the ground out of it. So
Yep.
is that the type of work that you do? Is
Yeah, so I do everything from residential to sports fields.
That's cool.
I've done stuff, you know, for the NFL. I've been all over doing this, and yeah, the technologies came a long ways. So now there's, you know, when they first came out with artificial turf, and probably what you played on, Tom, there wasn't what's called GMAX, and GMAX is now what's regulated. So that way, for head concussion stuff like that, it has to be a protocol, because, you know, back then there was no protocol,
right?
and so it's changed quite a bit.
Yeah. Everybody thought it was cool that we could play in the rain and not get all muddy, you know. But,
Yeah.
But I tell you what, I'd rather play in a turf which is full of mud than play on that AstroTurf. It was hell.
I'm sure it got a lot of rug burns.
Oh yeah. We were bandaged up and pads everywhere. Any place there was vacant skin, we had something on there to protect it. It was awful. But I know it's come a long ways. And you saw the ad in the back of a Success magazine.
Smart Money.
What drew you to that ad?
Is that what it was, Nick? Smart Money magazine?
Smart Money magazine, yeah.
Okay.
What drew me to it was there was an article, I think, in that same magazine about artificial turf, and it was about that and solar. There's going to be the next big thing in the next 30 years. And what drew me to it was I'm an avid golfer. And so I thought to myself, well, if I could build some driving ranges, I could build people putting greens, I get the best of both worlds. I get to do what I love. And I actually got to build a golf course. I was the first one in the United States out of artificial turf. And it was on the rim of the Paladero Canyon.
Wow. So
it's really cool. That's what drew me to it, though, was saying that it's going to be the next big thing in the next 30 years. And it's, you know, the industry itself is growing, I think, 7% every year, which is pretty substantial. And yeah, it's just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I think you just said something that's very important. Is anybody going to business? There's a lot of things that could be fads. You got to really, I encourage people, they're going to go into business. I always believe finding a thing that tugs at your heart, gives you passion to wake up in the morning. And it could be the construction, starting something, finishing something. But a lot of people don't know what they want. You got to find that is and find the business that will fill that need, because that's the fuel to keep you going. And so like Rami El-Batrari says at a workshop I was at in California with him, he says 3 things you look at. Is it a fad? You know, what if pet rocks used to be a fad, or hula hoops used to be fads, right?
Yeah.
They're no longer in business. They made a lot of money in a short period of time. There's a good place for those businesses, but if you're really looking for opportunity, you got to know what's the long-term projection of that industry or product that you're selling, and what makes you different. And is it scalable? You know, your business is a scalable type business, and it's by having more franchises. I believe that's the best way to do that. So you can scale to the market. I think those are critical things to do. So you had, I'm sure you did a lot of homework before you made that capital investment in a franchise, because they're not inexpensive, are they?
Oh, no. Yeah, I did a lot of homework, and it was just, you know, it's just now that it's cool that I'm doing it with my own company, is I've basically taken all the homework that I did looking into it and helping other people out, because I want them to be successful. That's, you know, it's one of my passions too, is, you know, is just helping people. I love helping people. I mean, it's just, I get so much enjoyment out of it.
So let's talk about people.
Yeah.
Who are some of the most significant influencers in your life that have molded you to where you are today, to prepare you to be successful in business? Because how long you been in business, Nick?
Man, almost, well, over 18 years now.
Okay. You're
Yeah.
way past that curve, because 80% of business fail within the first year, and 60% of those failed in the first 5. So the balance. So congratulations, you're basically living the dream, is controlling your own destiny. That's one of the things I tell people. People say, Tom, when are you going to retire? And I says, I created a life I don't want to retire from. My business is part of my life, and make it part of my mission every day. So
Absolutely.
it's part
100%,
of my life.
100%. I can never see me retiring. I really have no urge to or want to.
Yeah, just go down to McDonald's at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, see all the seniors sitting down around drinking coffee. That doesn't excite me at all.
Getting their $1 coffee.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, they're getting their senior coffee. Yeah,
that's right. No, so I guess that, the people that's really influential in my life, starting with my mom and my dad, very, very, very hard workers. Still to this day, I mean, they're super hard workers. Growing up, my dad I remember this very vividly. My dad was, he had a job, and then he was wanting to get my mom a nice ring or something for Valentine's Day or something. And it was really expensive. So what he did was picked up a second job. So after he got off work, went to another job till dark. And so he could get that. And so I thought that was really cool. And then my mom, to this day, she still works till 10 o'clock at night, which is crazy. But I mean, she's had passion. She loves what she does. And then my granddads, they were super influential. They had their own businesses. My granddad, Lee, he had a mechanic shop, diesel mechanic. And then my pawpaw, Wiley, he had a dry cleaners. So it was kind of, one end to the other, but I got to see how they ran them and what problems they had. Nothing was ever perfect. And that's what a lot of people need to understand. I still have not had a perfect job yet, and it's been over 18 years. And I don't think I'm going to have one. But I mean, that's honestly, and then after, so I guess when I went to college, then I had Phyllis, and so when I went to college, I worked called the Ambassador Hotel, and I was the bellman. Okay. And so what I had to do was I took care of, luggage, went up, make sure everything was good. But there was these brass doors that the entrance to this hotel. And I hated those brass doors because she wanted them sparkly every ounce of every minute, because that was the first impression that everybody saw walking through those brass doors. So I got in the habit of cleaning those brass doors because that's what made Phyllis happy. And so as I matured, and even to this day, things that she did, there was a reason behind it, right? And I ended up becoming her. She is kind of funny because she'll watch this after we get done. This is funny. I was her first male assistant, so it's kind of funny. But let me tell you now. Get this. So she's out of the hotel business, and now she runs a ranch outside of Emerald, Texas, an all-woman ranch.
Oh wow!
And it's just she's incredible. She's incredible. So I still hold her very close to me. I mean, she's great. She's like my second mom. Seriously. And then about 2 years ago, I met a guy by the name of John Traver. And I met him as a customer. He called me in one weekend, and he saw my ad on Facebook. And I said, well, I can come out right now and go out there and give you a bid. And he goes, well, okay. And he liked it because I just went out and I worked on a weekend. But I don't know when not to work, right? If the phone rings, I'm going to pick it up and say hello and try to make some money. So he's a super, super successful guy. Never met him before in my life until that day. And now it's, whenever I see him calling or something like that, I answer the phone because I'm going to learn something from it, right? I'm really going to learn something. And that's something with him. Like, he's just he's very impactful. So I would definitely listen to John Traver if you ever get a chance to listen to him. He's a very impactful person. So that's it. And I just keep on rocking and rolling and meeting great people along the way, like Tom, Mark. I mean, it's great.
Right.
It's great, and that's hanging around the right people, right? That's kind of what we're going to talk about today, right, Tom?
Yeah. Yeah. So because I come from a background of personal development, the results we get are directly related to our subconscious. Have you done any work with John Maxwell or Bob Proctor or any of those other type people? Do you ever?
So I haven't.
On the mindset?
I haven't worked with them personally, but I've read their books and stuff like that. I believe in doing stuff like that. And that's part of like the reason why I'm on Grow Live every Thursday night at 7:00, because it's just right. The group that we're in, it's fantastic. You learn from everyone.
Yeah.
So, and I believe in doing that self-help. I really do.
Yeah. Because I think people may have a good skill or talent or an aptitude to do something better than somebody else in the marketplace, but if their mindset isn't correct, it can crumble down around it. That's what I always like to work on, is getting people to think the results they want through. And I learned that I'm a certified consultant with the Bob Proctor, if you know Bob. So
oh yeah,
he's been a great influencer in my life, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today. That's for sure. So
that's awesome.
And I've been in business for myself since 1983, and I couldn't. I'm the worst employee there is. I don't like being told what to do. Even though I'm married and got a beautiful wife, so there's exceptions to everything. So she's the one that keeps me straight. But, so in your business, when we say hanging around the right people, a lot of times people think you got to be in the same niche or the same community of industry, whatever, to have that success. What's your opinion on that?
So my opinion on that is absolutely not. So, like my website, therealnicko.com, my logo is part of it. Underneath it says Proverbs 13:20. And, walk with the wise, become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. So it's so important, right? So back in the days of the Bible, they talk about this. I mean, that's how important it is to hang out with the right people. And the thing is you don't really want to hang out with everybody in your industry. You want to hang out with people in other industries that are very successful, because you're going to learn.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Henry Ford. He didn't know everything, but guess what? He had that button to push for someone. And that's so important for people it's okay to go outside the box and learn from other people that are successful in their industry and what makes them successful.
Yeah, because what you'll find, there's a success leaves clues, and the clues are always pretty much the same. That's what I found out. It's
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But hearing from a different perspective or a clarity, those type of things is so important. So I just wanted to get your input on that. Because you never know who knows somebody that can turn you on to your next biggest deal, right? You never know who's going to want that turf put into their stadium or university.
That's right.
The case may be. You never know.
You're always one relationship away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your biggest project?
My biggest project was probably the golf course. Building the golf course. That was a huge undertaking.
That's a full golf course. That's not just a driving range.
Right. That was 9-hole par 3. It was the greens, the fringe, tee boxes, and I also built them a driving range as well. So, okay. Yeah. And then, I've done stuff like the kid zones at Buccaneer for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, some stuff for Hard Rock Hotels. I've done a lot of neat projects. But the golf course is probably my biggest one, I would say.
Okay.
So, But going back kind of to the people you hang out with, one thing I think that's very important is something that I learned. You have 3 rooms in your life. And a lot of people don't think about this. You have your acquaintances, your friends and family, and then your green room, which is your all, back, the backstage where everything happens, where your closest people are to you. And sometimes it's okay not to have, say, your parents or girlfriend or whatever, not in that room, because sometimes they may be negative, but that's okay. That is okay. So usually what I try to tell people is list who's in your friends and family room, and then list who's in your green room. And then when you list the people that are in your green room, I want you to take 3 of those people out of it. Because there's a reason why. I mean, there's something they're negative here, negative there, right? So sometimes it may not leave you with very many people, but that's okay. And your green room changes time to time. So it's really important to know who your tight-knit group is for people that you hang out with. So
Yeah.
Can I ask a question here, Nick, as you were
sure
talking to us about that? What was your biggest challenge? Like, this is what people need to hear, and I like to hear some of your struggles. Like when you first got in this industry, obviously you didn't know everything there is about turf.
right.
And they were probably figuring, why should we even let this guy that's a conductor on a train get involved in this industry? Because, it's one thing to know what to do, but then it's another to know how to do it well. And I think we all evolve at some point in time. But can you share a moment? I don't care if it's funny, like where you were like, felt like, wow, why did I get in this thing? Is this project going to be completed on time? Am I going to get paid on time?
Sure.
The financial end of things, everything,
Yeah.
everybody goes through this,
Yeah.
whether you run a household, you have a budget. So now here you are in your business. Now you've added another layer of stress. I call it the stress sandwich, and everybody has to take a bite out of it sometime, but it's a matter of how you handled it. Could you share with us about that?
So even though I worked for the railroad, I was, some people say fake it till you make it, right? Well, I did faith it until you make it. I believed that I was going to be successful. I believed that I was going to do this and do that. And Mark, I will tell you, when I took the leap of faith of not going back to the railroad, what I did was I knew that pet facilities needed turf. I knew some hotels needed turf. I knew apartment complexes needed turf. And so what I did was at night in the hotel room, because I didn't have a house at the time, I would get on my phone and say, okay, I'm going to look up Google. Where's the closest nearest hotels? Where's the closest dog facilities? And I literally would just go up there. I wouldn't call. I just go up there.
Right.
And I had my 3 samples that I go with. And you got to be a product of the product. You have to believe in what you're doing. Because if you don't believe in it, I guarantee you your customers are not going to believe in it either. They're going to say, this guy's a little bit hesitant about this. I don't know. I asked him a question and he was like, you don't want this. So it's believe in the product and have belief in yourself. So, the financial stuff, that's not fun. It's not. I try to get a loan to get, my business going. And everyone said no.
Right.
Everyone said no. I even went to the local college and did the SBA deal and helped me do the business plan. I mean, I thought I was on top of the world. I go into each bank. Here you go. No.
Right.
So it's okay to be told no. And it's okay to be starting later in life. Bob Bill, there's a book called Decade by Decade. I would definitely read it because it goes by decade. And, like Julia Child, she was 50 years old when she wrote her first cookbook. I mean, Sam Walton didn't get really started. He failed numerous times at retail businesses. And when he hit 40 years of age, then it's really when it started picking up.
Right.
So you just got to keep going.
Right.
You got to have some grit because it's all about grit.
Speaking about keep going, I have to recognize someone because Tom alluded to this gentleman. All three of us wouldn't be here. The live stream master himself, Ken Walls, is saying hello to all of us. Ken, we really appreciate you and what
awesome.
you do. Ken, I can tell the story real quickly, but if it wouldn't be for him, I wouldn't be even remotely doing this or even selling through this medium, man. So, just want to say thank you, Ken. And we did not forget you. We appreciate you.
It really doesn't get better than Ken Walls, right?
No,
I mean, he's one of those guys that he will take time out of his busy day to help people.
Yes.
And as successful as he is, like, that's awesome.
He picked up the phone and called me, and that kind of stuck in my mentality because I said, here's a guy that actually picked up the phone and called me. So I have a lot of respect for people that do that.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah. As a been in business for myself since '83, that's one of the greatest, what I call aggravators I have is I don't understand how some business people stay in business because they don't communicate. They don't respond.
Right.
They don't even want to tell somebody, no, I'm not interested. They go ghost on you.
Yeah,
I don't understand how they can stay in business. I believe you should be communicating the good and the bad and the ugly at all times with your customer, and why.
Right.
I'm not ready. It's money issues, or I found a more competitive product, or whatever the case may be, or I'm just not ready. Right, Mark?
Yeah.
I'd rather deal with those than things that people just go ghost.
Sure. Or not. No means, hey, I'm not ready now, but maybe later on. But I bet you, Nick, you probably heard this one. I'm not interested. And you feel like saying to them, okay, you're not interested in what? Or you're just not interested, but not sure. Is it fit? Is it functionality? Is it finance? Just tell me.
That's right.
Just say it, and then we can start from there. So many people are afraid to say it, like, yeah, it's finance. Okay, well, let's work something out. Let's create a payment plan. Let's do something. I'm sure you had to get creative out there in your industry.
Oh yeah. It's, the thing is like, I finance, customers, and stuff like that. But it's the thing is like, when people reach out to you via Facebook or any platform, right? And they say, well, I probably don't have the money for it, or I don't have this. I always tell people, let me come out and give you a bid. And they're like, really? Because that way, at least you know where you're starting from. You know where you need to start budgeting. I don't care if you don't buy from me that day. Let's just get you where you know what you need, because there's so many different turfs out there. Let's get the one that fits your specific plan.
Right. That's cool.
So, did you create your own franchise company, or you affiliated with it?
No, it's my own. It's my own.
You created one?
Yeah, and so what happened was, towards the end of last year, everything started going up, and my profit margins went extremely. Actually, July 11th of last year is when I saw that my books. And I was like, wow, I went down to 11% by the end of the year, which is absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible. So I had to think about it. Why did it go down that much, right? Well, first, people need to make more money now because things are more expensive. So now you have to figure out, okay, what can I do? And then mine was, if I could get the turf made for myself, and I buy in bulk, the cost of it comes down. So now my profit goes back up. And so then I thought, well, now that I do this, now if I get people doing the franchise, now their cost will be up. They can, start at 30% profit margins or 40%. And if it goes down, it's okay. But at least you know you have the ability to come in at 30 and 40% profit margins. So that's why I did that.
Cool. Yeah, knowing the logistics of your business and it's so important. And that's where you come in as a franchisor.
That's right.
When I had my photography company, I was looking to create. I did youth sports photography, from little T-ballers all the way to college, the team pictures and custom artwork and all that stuff. And I was looking at creating a franchise for other photographers, how to create, because I was trained by one of the best sports photographers in the country. And I says, I can replicate and duplicate this. I can scale this. So I looked at creating a franchise. Well, guess what I found out? That's a complicated place to be, as a business structure, all the regulations and things you have to comply to. So I went, there's 4 legs on a franchise. I decided to move my business to a licensing agreement.
Okay.
Which is 3 legs of a franchise. And it made my life so much easier. So it's really important for people to really understand what is a licensee agreement, a franchise agreement, partnerships. All those things are so important. You need to do your due diligence on the business relationship or the entity you're going to use. Do you coach people on that as well?
Say what?
Do you coach people on that as well?
I do, yeah, because even you can go further, dealerships as well, right? Like you have to, and it's fine because, we were talking about Ken Walls earlier. Well, I had him redo my website and everything, and there's actually on there Turf Biz Academy. So on my front page,
wow, that's cool. Yeah.
You can do the Turf Biz Academy. And so if people are scared of a franchise or something like that, that's fine. Join my Turf Biz Academy and I'll help you through that. So we kind of go through every, okay, you don't have the finances to do the franchise, but okay, let's just go this step. Let's go this route. So yeah, Tom, I do. I work through everything with the people. Like, okay, what scares you about this? Okay, let's go through this. This is what I agree. Taxes on this one would be a little bit, worse than on this one. So yeah.
Yeah. Yes, there's so many different types of business entities out there. That's one of the things we like doing here is let people know what the options are. A lot of people are very, what I call siloed in thinking in business. They think storefronts, they think those type of things. Don't understand franchises. They don't understand licensing agreements, so on and so forth. They don't understand network marketing and the value of those type of businesses.
Oh yeah.
And I think network marketing is nothing more than a franchise opportunity. Everything's set up for you. The product distribution, everything's handled for you.
I agree. 100. I agree 100%. My wife, she's a network marketer. I have friends that are big time network marketing, and they're actually the leaders of their company. And and it's great too because it also, a lot of people don't understand that it has great tax benefits as well. So that's, there's a lot of different reasons why you should do that.
Yeah. I always like to do a disclaimer about taxes, but there's research out there that if you look it up, get advice from a tax attorney or a tax CPA of how to structure your business. But the typical person that starts a home-based business in network marketing can save $4,000 to $5,000 a year in taxes alone. That in itself, but you got to meet certain requirements. It can't be a hobby.
Right.
But the things that we take for granted that we're paying for monthly, I let Uncle Sam subsidize everything I do. Everything I do is associated with my business.
Absolutely.
And I learned this from a friend of mine. I'll just throw this wisdom out there. He was an accountant, and he said this is way back when the internet started coming about and websites and all that type of stuff. And he says, Tom, don't have any games on your computer, because if you ever get audited, now you can't write your computer off because you have games on it, because that's considered personal. So I learned that a long time ago. You won't catch any of my computers having games on it, because if I ever got audited by the IRS, let's see your computers, because they can do that and say, oh, that's personal stuff. You can't write that whole thing off for parts. So I learned a long time ago, and I took his advice. So I've never had a game on any of my computers, just for that one fact, because there's a lot of things, if you don't get the proper console, you can find yourself in a wedge sometimes. So
sure,
talk with a high voice. What's your greatest advice that you'd give somebody who's looking at a franchise? What would you recommend?
Well, I would say know the person and ask them some tough questions. Like if something was to happen, would you leave me hanging? Stuff like, I mean, so on my deal, at the end of my deal, I get 7.5% gross of each franchise. And when people say, well, you know, if I do this, are you just going to leave? It's like, no, because I want you to be successful. So I get that 7.5% on the rear end of this thing. And, you know, that's the thing is, I would say it's really important. I think if you need structure to be in a franchise, because basically it's a do it, you know, for you business. You have all your SOPs and stuff set up that, you know, you have. And if say a customer is not paying, you know, all sorts of things, well, you just do a notice to owner. And a lot of people wouldn't know, well, what's a notice to owner? I was like, okay, well, I'll tell you this. So then I'll go with them, right? If there's a lot of things that a franchise helps that you don't have to learn the hard way. So you may pay $100,000 up front, but I guarantee you I've made about $500,000 in mistakes. So, I mean, it's really, it just depends how you want to do it.
Right.
Okay.
That's interesting. I got to ask you though, Nick, when you first looked at this, like the turf business as a franchise, you know, were you nervous about it? Did you have doubts about you? Can I really do this? Can I be profitable at it? Or did that go through your mind at all? Like,
I'll be honest with you. No.
Good for you.
And the reason being is Eastern New Mexico's in a drought all the time. So that's my whole thing was, okay. And it's kind of like Tom was saying, you know, when he's talking to Amy and stuff, is like, there's a need, you know, there is no water. So how are you going to fill that gap? Well, artificial turf that conserves the water.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew if I could get this going, it would be successful. No, I mean, I had 100% belief in myself that it was going to work. I never did have a doubt, because I feel like and this is just even from being a young kid, if I had a doubt, then it could be bad. And so it goes back. So I've golfed my whole entire life, literally since I was 7, I've been at the golf course. And playing golf, you have to vision your shot before you hit it, right? You go say, okay, well, the pin's in the left, you know, the left back, and you got a slope here, so I'm gonna have to hit it on the right side, so it curves into the hole, right? So that's how I do everything, anyways. So at the age of 7, I already started learning how to focus on my outcome that I needed.
Good deal.
It sounds like you took Bob Proctor's to visualize the outcome before you know, have a clear mental picture. So
it works.
Right.
It really works.
So your personal scope of business, where do you practice putting turf in? What part you can? How do you structure your business? Anybody out there is listening, where do you do your business? Strictly in Texas there? Or?
No, I've done it all over the United States. So, and I've helped people all over across the United States on doing it. And so, like, you know, Jerry Eisenhower last week during the Grow Live, he goes, "Hey, I need turf." I was like, "I know a guy." So I put him in contact with Pat Underhill, who's in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Bam. Like, just, you know, I do it all over the country. So, it's just one of the things I specialize in, though, are the golf greens, the bent grass golf greens.
Right. Yep.
So,
hey, man, you ought to get into baseball fields. You do those at all? Or?
I do. So, do you know Marucci?
Yes, the bat company.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I did their clubhouse in Orlando, Florida.
Oh wow.
So if you go to YouTube, type in Marucci Clubhouse Orlando, and you'll see all my handiwork. I built that place.
Nice.
Yeah.
Those bats aren't cheap either. I know my son played college, even the wood
Okay.
bats. Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, you can make a major league investment there, no pun intended, when you buy
Oh yeah.
bats, gloves, and everything else out there. And I think baseball can be just as expensive as golf. It's
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Besides the issues of environmental needs, don't have enough water to keep a green environment for your clubhouse or whatever the case may be, your home. What are the other benefits of people using turf today?
So safer for kids if you have a family, super safe. Pets, no fleas, no ticks, less mosquitoes, a
Right.
cleaner house because no more muddy paws. So guess what? Your wife's happy. Happy wife, happy life. So it's like, it's a total game changer. So yeah, it's commercial. So I do like Mercedes-Benz, their dealerships, and put turf around stuff because they don't want the sprinklers coming on and put water spots all over the Mercedes. So there's different avenues for it.
Sure.
Yeah. You know what? When you talked about turf and Tom was talking about his days, and I remember when it first came out, and the football used it and they used it up north and people's heads would bounce off that hardcore turf. Even at the old Georgia Dome, since I live in Metro Atlanta, that it's totally different now, the type of stuff they use. But, because you'd see this real thick mat and I said, what's that? Oh, that's the field. I'm like, oh my God. And underneath there's concrete and, no wonder people would get injured. But yeah, it's pretty wild stuff.
But
I remember that stuff in the trade show industry because that's what I worked and they were promoting the heck out of it, like a lot of the different, there was one group, it was, what do you call groundskeepers for actual golf greens. It was in South Carolina. It was pretty cool because they were coming out with this newer product and they were talking about turf. And they said, this is going to revolutionize golf. And so it was kind of neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It really is.
Yeah. Well, Tom, we got people throwing comments out here. This is from Robert. He said, it's pretty sweet to have an opportunity to say, I know a guy. When you said that, I always think of, I don't know, like Ori Spado or somebody on the mob side, not that you know, but hey, I know a guy. Or, when I hear that, hey, I got an idea. When you get around those type of guys, it's like, really, what's the idea? Because they're always thinking about ways to make revenue. I'm not going to say it's always legitimate, but they know a lot of guys.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Waste Management's really successful. So.
Yeah, oh Lord. Oh my. May he rest in peace. Tony Soprano himself.
Oh, shoot.
So with that, because we're talking about circles of people, so elevate yourself. I call it elevate up. Get into different groups. Don't be a fly on the wall. Be a contributor. Be a masterminder. Like it in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, the principle of the mastermind. That's relationship building anyway. Finding that group of people that are there to mentor you, coach you through any of your process. Find those people that have been down a path, may not be the same path, but a similar path in that area. So, and don't be afraid to ask. And I like what you said earlier. Fake until you make it. Faith until you make it. You got to believe. That's the key. No matter whether it be a franchise has a proven business model, you have track records that still you can. I remember Bob Proctor told me did my business plan because I've had businesses. I could take mine to a bank. I had everything outlined, marketing plans, numbers, spreadsheets, the whole ball of wax. I remember Bob Proctor going through my business plan because he wanted to know how I want to do my coaching. Do I want to do one-on-one type stuff or created an agency type business in coaching? And so my business plan was to be a $1.5 million coaching platform. And he's going through, he's asking me questions. And I remember he did this thing abruptly. He had my business plans, 3-ring binder, all tabbed out. He did one of those, dropped it on his desk in his office. He says, Tom, I can give you Bill Gates' business plan. It won't work for you. And I became defensive, of course. What do you mean? I've been in business 83. And he asked me 2 questions. He says, what's the most money you've ever made? And I told him it's pretty significant in relationship to what a lot of people have made. But he says, it's far short of the 1.5 million. You don't believe, because he asked me some other questions. My parents grew up in the Depression era, lack mentality, poverty mentality. Money wasn't a good thing. You know, there was no good relationship with money. And he had me do an exercise to get my belief system up to that. And to this day, I still read it right here every day.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And, you know, it works when you really psychologically reprogram yourself to that belief. Nothing can get in your way when you have that strong belief. So
Agreed.
I appreciate some of the things you've said. They're so powerful.
Right.
What people should be considering being in business. Have that true belief in yourself, your product, believe in it, have a mission and a purpose. What are you going to do with your money? Let's say you're going to make $1 million. What is that $1 million going to be used for? I think it's more important than how many zeros are in the formula. Is what are you going to use it for? How are you going to serve your family? I believe that's number one. How are you going to serve your community and what that looks like, and how can you be a giver to giving back? Are those your principles as well?
Yeah, I think that's so important, Tom. You hit the nail on the head. How to be a servant to others. And I mean, people that know me know that that's exactly how I live my life. If I didn't have a dime to my name, I would still try to find a way to help someone else. You know, I mean, you have to have a servant attitude and help people. You really do.
Yeah. Sometimes that extra investment in time or energy or concern gives you a bigger paycheck in the long run in life.
100%. 100%.
And I believe in the principle Maslow teaches. And great business people, number one, they recognize they have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and they understand this one principle. It's Maslow. If you can communicate with people, do you see me? They want to know, do you see me? Do you hear me? And do you really care?
Right.
If you can do that in your business, you're going to hit home runs every time you get to the plate, because people know that you're coming from that place. You care about them more so than how big your paycheck is. People can sense that as well.
Yeah. And, you know, it's kind of off the subject, but when you said see me, I think it goes back to being consistent all the time as well, right? And being consistent is what drives profits as well.
Yeah.
So
if I was out there looking for a franchise, where would you put the turf businesses in the category? Where would it be ranked as an industry to be in? Would it be in the top 5 or 10?
It'd definitely be top 5.
Top 5. Okay.
Yeah, it'd definitely be top 5.
Is that because of the sports, construction?
That's right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to it because there's a book called Last Drop for Sale. And, you know, and I firmly believe that water's the next oil. And I mean, it's going to have to be with the population, everything it is.
Right.
And all the construction. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's why it's so popular. It's easier to maintain. There's parts in South Florida and out in California that they don't even let you have gas blowers no more. Right. I mean, because they're so honed in on the environmental impact.
Yeah. Right.
And so it's just going to get more and more like that. I mean, just like, for instance, electric cars. You see more and more electric cars now. It's just part of it.
Right.
And another thing too is that organizations that have to maintain turf, when you go to an artificial situation, that cuts labor down dramatically.
It does. So it cuts labor down, but then like your cities and your stuff like municipalities that have this is for their sports stuff. Mark, you umpire, you know.
Oh, I would welcome it because I'm tired of inhaling dust in between.
Right. And you know, though, if you have a rain out, it's a rain out. but with turf, it's not.
It's not.
And
You're right.
And the cities are going to make that revenue.
Because this year we've lost like 5 tournaments because of rain,
And they bring a lot of tax dollars.
Yeah, they do.
Yep.
all the way from 8 years old up to like 17,
Yeah.
I ought to have Tom go with me sometime and say, look, this is my father. No, I'm kidding. My brother, whoever, and say, stop yelling at me. I'm tired of it. Someone asked me, why do you do this? And I kiddingly said, because I have a 50-50 chance of being right. And at home, I don't. It's like, 80-20, man. So they all laughed when I said that, I was kidding around, but they said, hey, that's pretty profound, But you are right. And I said, at least I know I'm going to upset you and you'll be happy with the call, or you'll be happy with that call, but then you'll be mad at me for that call. It's all, but that's the beauty of the game. I love baseball. It's all part of it. But what you talk about, I live in Gwinnett County here. There are other places here further north in Beaufort that
perfect game.
What they did is they covered their rec areas now in turf. And I know what they used to look like, and they look great. And it's what you said. If it does rain or something, you can recover pretty quick.
Yeah, so, and with the baseball outfields, you can turn them into flag football, soccer.
Oh, yeah.
And there's so many opportunities.
Right. Yeah. You're
the
right.
facility they built in our community just here last year, it's phenomenal because like tonight, there'll probably be a soccer playing, or what do you call it? With the thing with the stick.
Lacrosse.
There we go. Something's always going on in between home games. So it's really benefited the community, and it's a nice environment. And the ball bounces true on that as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild stuff.
I tell you what, an hour goes in a hurry, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
You're having a good time. Right, people to hang with. In closing, to anybody out there in business, what would be your secret sauce or your wisdom you want to share out there with anybody out there that has a desire to be in business?
Grit. You just got to have grit. I mean, that's the secret sauce. I mean, just when you think you're about to give up, don't give up, because you're right there on the edge. So that's why I'd say just grit.
Okay. Thank you. I agree 100%. Grit will get you past your IQ. I guarantee you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, Mark, anything else?
No, Nick, it was a lot of fun to get to know you. I feel like I've known you. You're very easy to talk to, and I can see why you're successful in your industry for that reason, and you're believable. I think that you emulate, and I'm real big about, Tom talked about Maslow. I trust, help, and care. I mean, that's what it's all about. And when people know that you come across from that, inner being of trust, help, and care. Hey, this guy's not just trying to sell me something. They look at it differently. And,
yeah, they really do.
Yeah. And I'm not just talking about trying to sell things, or it could be a concept, an idea. It could be someone that, public speaking, I'll kiddingly say this, politicians, who you're going to trust and vote for. But it all goes hand in hand. And, so we take it lightly, but it does go a long way. And treating people with dignity and respect is that's what it's all about.
It really is.
Nick, I put your email up there. If anybody would like to reach out to you, there it is. They can reach out. I know you'd lead them the right path. Somebody's inquiring about franchise, whether it be the turf franchise business or any other franchise. I think
that's right.
Great place to start. Get that feedback from somebody is doing it and that type of thing. So
that's awesome. Yeah.
Mark, in closing, anything else you want to share?
Well, I'll tell you what, I ought to turn some of these LinkedIn people that are DMing me. They're not friends, but they're wanting me to go in a franchise, and it's just kind of wild stuff. I don't know what half of them are, but I don't know how they got my name, but they keep sending me, messages. Hey, you'd be great for. Do you have time for a couple hours or an hour or something? It's kind of.
Have you got one for artificial turf yet?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay.
I have not, but Lord knows what some of them are. And I would talk to you about a franchise, not even if it was outside turf, because
Sure.
you'd lay out the plan and say, hey, here's what to expect. This is what it's going to be. This is how it's going to be played out. Because I think, when you're dealing with salespeople on the end of it, they're not going to tell you all those things.
No, never. And you got to be transparent.
Right.
And my thing is I'm going to be transparent because these are people's lives.
Right.
They're trusting with you that they have families. They have
Right.
and the thing that you want to do.
You're not going to leave them hang is what,
Right.
when some ask you that question,
Yeah. And, not every person's going to be a great franchisee. And
Right.
just tell them and say, you know what, honestly, I don't think this is the model for you. Because
Correct.
it may not be. Don't go out there and try to sell it just so you can have it. That does you no good at the end of the day.
Right. That's a great point. That's all I got. I think we need to have Nick come back, and I'd like to hear about some of his exploits in the turf industry. He probably has some stories to share with us.
Hey, what's your handicap, Nick?
Oh, man. So back in the day, it was a +1.
That's a striker. That's for
I
sure.
hadn't played in a couple of years, and I went out during Memorial Day weekend and played.
What'd you do?
Well, 85.
That's not bad.
Take 85 all day long.
Oh,
Well, what's funny is, my son has become, after baseball, now he's into golf, like to the nth degree. And I've got some clubs from about 20 years ago. And, back in the day, we went on a vacation at St. Pete and we played, and he was really getting into it. And my younger son said, gee, Dad, you ain't doing too bad considering you haven't played for how many years. Man, that infuriated my son. So then we had to sit there and watch him work on his swing and watch on this. And it's like, 100 degrees. And we're like, look, we were in the car in the air conditioning. We're like, we want to go. We want to go back to the beach. We just did this for fun. And my son's really an avid golfer. In fact, he lives now on a golf course, his home. So I know, yeah. I can. So when he has kids, look out, they're.
Oh yeah.
I know one thing about baseball players. They make great golfers because they got that hand-eye body. They can dial in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So,
Oh yeah.
He didn't play that much when he was playing baseball because of the swing, but now, he doesn't care. He's out there doing it, but yeah.
Well, Nick, we appreciate you being here. Anything else? And we're going to go ahead and sign on. We'll see if we can get our widgets to work here tonight.
Yeah, at least.
Just thank you guys for having me on. I really enjoyed it. I really did.
Good. We enjoyed you as well, my friend. Glad to know you.
Absolutely. Same here.
Thank you, Nick.
I'll use the commercial they have here in Wisconsin. It's a window and siding company. The name of the company is Abbey Windows. And the commercial goes this way. If you know a guy that does windows, say no, but I know a gal. So there we go.
Oh, man.
She leveraged it. She's a big time. I've met her personally. She's a big time businesswoman in our area. And I love that line. No, I don't know a guy, but I know a gal.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So you guys take care. Mark, I'm going to go ahead and see if we can play one of our Be Connected.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Here we go.